deeply religious and conservative. The remote communities cling to the so-called green zone, a narrow strip of vegetation where the river runs through the desert. Its opium poppies make this the greatest source of the world's heroin. It's lethal territory. Zamindavar is beyond safety. The soldiers are tense as they approach. Intelligence chatter indicates key Taliban commanders live here. Well within range, they sit and wait. Will the Taliban attack? Orders are to provoke a response, to test their firepower, to stir things up. That's an RPG. They engage.
I think it might have been an RPG fired from a motorcycle. We saw a bike going across very fast, and we saw a plume of smoke in front of us.
A show of force from a Harrier jet. Pathfinders are looking for firing points.
There now, if there's nothing firing back, let's just delay sort of 5 minutes. The minute they open up again, we'll do it. I just want to see if they've stopped. I don't want to give all our cards away in one go.
That's the whistle of incoming rounds. That's closer. The fighting intensifies.
All call signs. Watch 0 to Charlie Tracer. Watch Sergei, watch my Tracer.
Small arms fall short, but mortars smash into the desert next to the Jackal trucks. We're on their territory. Their weapons are ranged on this spot.
Again, we're Opal 80 Alpha, Opal 80 Alpha. This is a find out a 1-4 radio check over.
The men can call on artillery and air support, but radio communications are down.
Send it through those means.
The request for long-range artillery has to be routed via a landline at headquarters.
A broadsword 0, find a 1-4, continuing fire mission, Taliban mortar team.
You got IDF at the rear, yeah?
They see a lone motorcyclist behind them.
Looks like smoke. Looks like adjusting it on, mate. Right, hold on. You see where they follow the left-hand track down from there? Got one lone side. Yeah?
They think he's firing or at least spotting for the Taliban. The Taliban have the experience. They've been defending this pass since the Russians first came.
Another round behind us, Jim. Landed it.
Yeah.
On the other side. They're talking about moving the call sign north.
They manoeuvre to a new firing point, but the Taliban have moved closer as well.
Very small, very active now. It's coming up on the left side. This guy's truck.
A long-range artillery round goes in, fired from over 50 miles away, but there's an instant return of fire. And they just keep firing back. Mortars land just yards away.
Behind us, 50 feet, 50 metres.
The Pathfinders up the ante again. Sergeant Scotty Patterson calls for a multiple airstrike.
A 4-1, that's a good copy. I'll give you a set rep soon as we've got the rounds on the ground.
Enormous bombs smash into the compounds where the firing's been coming from. It's the largest drop of ordnance on a single target recorded in this part of the war in Afghanistan. But within minutes, it was clear just how tough the Taliban are. They attack again.
Incoming.
That's 2 rounds in the same place.
Yeah, told you, DF the pass. Yeah, we need to fucking move.
With light fading, the Pathfinders have moved to a defensive camp for the night. Incredibly, it's only 1,500 metres back from the compounds, at the foot of the pass, into the next valley.
Good contact today.
Nice. Read back 4-1 Sierra.
So Matt, what about today? What do you learn?
Well, our task was to come in here and basically get information on enemy forces and local nationals. I think we
quite quickly found the enemy forces.
No, the RPG was the first one. Yeah, that went over the top of the two. Yeah.
For about 40 k's all the way to here, we've been watched in and channelled in by the enemy.
And then the second one landed slightly behind it? Or
behind it.
They've obviously got a couple of well-trained mortar fire controllers up here somewhere. So we used basically air power to hit the targets that they were identified at.
Because they can just move around on the mopeds fast and furious, we can't get too close to them with the wagons. It's a bit of a Mickey Mouse game, really, try to get in there.
The impression we were getting from the various feeds was that they were quite surprised we were here.
All right, Mark.
I'm good, mate, thanks.
Was it hurt?
Yeah. Minor ailments.
It may seem like we didn't achieve much, but we actually found a quite large grouping of the enemy in a certain location, which all adds value at the higher level.
And that gets passed up, that's the point.
Of course, that was passed immediately, and longer syrups will follow during the evening.
Yeah. Right.
Well done. Well done, sir.
In this environment, each man needs 11 litres of water a day, but even then, it barely quenches the thirst. It's beautiful but hostile here, dangerously so. It's freezing in winter, but now pushing 60 degrees. It's why central authority barely exists beyond the main towns and cities. But it's here the Taliban thrive, familiar with the conditions and rudimentary paths. 3 days in and we've crossed the pass into the neighbouring valley.
And there is a pass, that's probably one there somehow.
Matt has sent out part of the platoon to find Taliban routes and disrupt their movements.
They know we have to come out. They're watching us, they're waiting for us. I just think if we set it up properly, then we can get something out of it.
While the Pathfinders are identifying areas of extreme Taliban influence, they're also trying to engage with the local people. It's called testing the atmospherics, getting information for headquarters on how people view the Taliban, the Kabul authorities, and the coalition forces. But just how far does the writ of the country's government run in these remote areas? Hardly any outsiders come to this valley. It's been over a year since the ISAF forces even passed through, and they didn't actually stop.